How's it, everyone? Welcome to Hawaiian Horology, and today we'll be taking a closer look at the Monta Triumph, currently discontinued olive green dial. We're just going to see how close this micro brand can get to the crown. Today we'll be doing a light comparison of these two watches. I'll be sharing my different design preferences, and we'll be talking about the build quality and versatility of these two watches. And more importantly, we're going to be speaking about the claims that Monta fans, owners, and enthusiasts make on some of the forums and the groups. And we'll also be talking about some of the claims that Monta makes themselves on their website. And I'll be letting you know how close the Monta actually can get to the Rolex, and if it is even a viable option as an alternative, or is it a standalone piece. The Triumph does have applied indices on the 3, 9, and 12 o'clock position with a frame date window at 6. And one of the things that people might say about this watch is that the dial does look a tad busy with all the numerals and the larger 3 and 9 numeral, but I think it looks great when you compare it next to the Explorer. The Explorer just kind of has a clean, very symmetrical dial, the classic 369 Arabic numerals. Design wise, they're very different, and they both have very, very positive elements to it, but I do prefer the Explorer, just the cleanness of the dial and the classic look to it, but I also really like the Triumph dial as well. And let me know in the comments which dial you do prefer. As for versatility, I do think that the Explorer is probably one of the most versatile watches in the world. It can go anywhere. You can wear it dressed up, wear it dressed down, and just the classic look of this piece. You can really just wear it anywhere. It's a go anywhere, do anything watch that leans, I think, with a polished bezel. It leans a little more towards the dressier side. If we're talking about versatility just as a watch, I believe that the Monta Triumph is a tad more versatile because it does have the ability for you to change the straps. I think you can put it on leather, rubber, and a NATO, no problem. The thing about the Explorer is that the lug holes are so close to the case is that it's very hard to change straps in and out, and underneath this bracelet everything is so sharp. Maybe you can see one of these straps I have here, the underside is kind of, I don't know, it's very hard to see. The underside is kind of ripped. It's just from the edges being so sharp on the Explorer. It kind of wears down your strap when you wear it. I didn't even wear it on this strap for too long. And if you can imagine a leather strap on this watch, it's going to be so close to the case that the leather just going to keep kind of getting worn down along the edge of the case, and who knows, it might even just rip off. That's how close and that's how sharp these edges are. The Triumph has, as you can see, there's a smoother beveled edge, and when you get underneath, it's not as sharp. Here, I'm going to be showing it to you guys on a couple of different strap options, and I just think versatility as a watch, the Triumph does have the Explorer just a bit, because it may not be as dressy, so you can't go, with a suit or with the tux with this watch, I would say, but you can, wear a nice dress shirt, you can wear shorts, you can wear a t-shirt, you can also change the strap, so maybe that's what the Triumph does have on the Explorer. And as for the build quality of this watch, everything seems very, very solid, and the design language is very purposeful. Combination of brush surfaces, polished surfaces really give it a very interesting look, and they do spend a lot of attention to detail. I think this watch is very, very well made. Now, the only thing that I really do have, or maybe it's a couple of things I do have about this watch, and I think it just applies to all Monta watches that I've experienced, is that sometimes the threads of the crown don't always catch on your first go, and sometimes it even catches on a different thread, and sometimes it just screws in maybe a quarter of the way, not really half of the way, and then you gotta kind of realize, oh, it's not turning in. You have to unscrew it and, you know, make sure it's screwed in properly so you don't damage your watch in the water. But that is it is true for every Monta watch that I did experience. So, but maybe that is something they could improve on. Also, another thing that I noticed about just this model in particular, I can't remember if the Noble or the Ocean King that I had previously was like this, but the rotor seems to be very, very loud. I don't know if you can hear it here, but it seems very loud. It may be because this watch is a little older. It may need to go in for some service, but those are the two things that I really think really hinder the Monta in build quality. If you're holding these two watches side by side, there's only a 3-gram weight difference. The Explorer weighs 135 grams and the Triumph weighs 132 grams, but something about it, when you put this in your hand, it feels like the Rolex is just a little more solid and a little tougher, and I think you can probably take more of a beating with the Explorer. It is something, it's hard to explain unless you get these two watches. Something about the Explorer just feels like heavier, it has more heft to it, and it just feels like it can take a beating. And one of the things that I did encounter is when I give this watch to other people, the Triumph, they always say it feels really, really light, but it's only really a 3-gram difference between the Explorer and the Triumph. So I'm not sure if it's part of the build quality that they think it's lighter, or is this at how maybe the bracelet does feel a tad lighter than the Explorer here. But that's something that people say, and that may be good on your wrist, it being light, but sometimes you want to feel like your watch is like a tank, you know, and it feels solid and it feels like nothing can happen to it while you're wearing it on your wrist. So as for the build quality, I mean, Monta is very well built, but of course you're talking about a watch in a way different price category, and of course the Explorer has it on that front. Now on the Monta website, they claim that this bracelet is the most comfortable bracelet on Earth. And I have to say, it is a very comfortable bracelet. The fully articulating links really, you really do notice it on the wrist. Some watches drape your wrist, but this watch just hugs your wrist. It conforms perfectly to your wrist size and your wrist shape here. As I was mentioning earlier, the bracelet does feel very light, so it is very, very comfortable on the wrist. I recently took this watch with me on vacation, and I wore it every day in the pool and you know, to the beach, and it just was fantastic. I didn't have any issues with it. It is very comfortable, and what it does have on the Oyster bracelet here is the micro adjustment system. This bracelet is the V3 version of their bracelets. Wasn't originally sold on this watch. I had to buy it separately. And it has 3 points of micro adjustment. I believe it's 2 millimeters each point, so you have 6 millimeters of micro adjustment. One thing I do wish that it was a little bit longer, maybe we had 8 to 10 millimeters, but 6 is just fine. And if you compare it to the Explorer here, they only have a 5 millimeter easy link extension, like like most sport and other models have from Rolex. 5 millimeters in and out, which is very helpful as well too. But is it the most comfortable bracelet on Earth? I will give a slight nod to Monta for having a more comfortable bracelet than the Explorer and the Oyster bracelet, but I'm not sure if it can actually compare to the Rolex Jubilee bracelet, which I think is hands down the most comfortable bracelet I've ever experienced, I've ever encountered, and I think it's just great. If I could get a Jubilee on every Rolex model, I would. I would say that the Monta is the most comfortable 3-link bracelet I've ever encountered. Sometimes you'll hear comments, or you'll also see comments about the clasp length, but I think it has to be this long for the micro adjustment portion of it. And it's not really too much longer than the Oyster bracelet here, maybe just a couple of millimeters. And I have no problem wearing it on my 7.5-inch wrist. So edge goes to Monta here. One thing that I hear and read the most about Monta on the forums and the groups is that it punches way above its weight class. So at $1,700 retail, I believe you do get a great value for the money. So people say that it's on par with some other brands, with the likes of Omega and Tudor. But I've had the Ocean King version 2, and I also currently own the Seamaster 300. The only thing that the Ocean King version 2 had versus that watch was the bezel action was way better, but those two are very hard watches to compare to. Also, you're talking about a watch that's $5,000 retail with the Seamaster and about $2,000 or so retail at the time for the Ocean King version 2. But I would really like to put this Triumph against maybe a Black Bay 39, something a little bit closer to its price range than this. But also, as I say that, if you do think about the current generation Black Bay 39, they now have the Meta certified movement, and it kind of is a very unfair comparison for that watch against this watch as well. But I think at $1,700 you get a lot of things that you don't normally get in a watch of this price range, like the fully articulated links, a lot of polish and brush surfaces. The movement wise, you're looking at the Sellita SW300 movement here, but I mean, you can find that in watches less than this and even more than this. So yeah, so I'm not sure if it punches that far above its weight class, but it does have some similar features like the applied indices, like the micro adjustment on the bracelet that more expensive watches do have. So you may get some unexpected features for the price of this watch. I think the retail right now is around $1,700, but on the secondary market, these Montas, every single model really does take a big hit. I've seen Triumphs and Nobles, which both have about the same retail price, sub $1,000, and at that price, sub $1,000, you are really getting a bargain in there. But there's not a lot of watches out there for that price. They probably have around $1,100 to $1,200. And if they did hold their value better, it would just kind of display that they do punch above their weight class and they are a great value for money. But I do think at $1,700 it is a good value. Secondhand, it definitely is a way better value. I do really like to support the brand. I bought 2 of their watches at retail, and this one actually bought secondary because it was already discontinued. And what I really would like to compare this watch to is something closer to its price range. Like, for example, if I could get my hands on the new SkyQuest GMT and maybe put it against up the Longines Spirit Zulu Time, that's something very close in price. The Longines is about $3,000 retail. Of course, you can always get discounts on Longines. So $3,000 retail versus $2,400 or so for the SkyQuest. That is very close in price, and if you get a discount on the Longines, they could be equal in price. And I would love to compare 2 watches like that. And I would also like to compare the Monta to other micro brands. I've had a few micro brands in my watch collecting journey, but nothing as expensive as this one. I've had I had a couple other micro brands that are lower in price, like Laurier, which is a third of this, so it's kind of a tough comparison. But what I would like to compare this up against is the Formex Essence 39, which I may pick one up for the channel and have a review for you. And if you do want to see that review, let me know in the comments below. So this was just a light review of these two watches, and I think it's very fun putting up a micro brand next to a very well-established brand like Rolex. And there are a lot of design features that I do like about the Monta, a lot of aspects I do like about the Monta, but it's very hard to compare these two watches. If you think about the price of these two watches, $1,700 versus $6,500 at retail at the time. It's pretty much four times as much. But I don't think the Rolex is 4 times the amount of watch. I mean, the Monta is a great watch for the money. It has a great, very unique design aspects. Has the most comfortable 3-link style bracelet that I've encountered. So the Monta is a very, very nice watch. It could be an alternative to the Explorer, but I mean, like it is in my collection, it is a piece that can stand on its own. I can have these two watches and I can wear it for very different things, or I can wear it for the same things if I do choose to, just however you want to wear your watches. And unfortunately for Monta, their arms are a little too short to box with the crown here, but it is a very awesome watch that I would recommend to anybody getting into the hobby. I mean, I have a lot of watches, and this watch will probably be in my collection for a while unless I do decide to trade it out for another Monta version, maybe the new SkyQuest, or hopefully by the time this video is out, they have revealed the new version of the Ocean King, which I am very excited to see, and hopefully that one can be added to my collection. And thank you so very much for watching another episode of Hawaiian Horology. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe below. Let me know in the comments how I can improve on these videos, or maybe some other videos you would like to see. Like we're talking about other versus videos. What other watches you like to compare this Monta to, or maybe this Explorer to. But thanks again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Shoots!